listening to Give God 90, where we're not afraid of the tough biblical questions, because we will dig through the language, the culture, and the history to find the truth revealed in the words of our Creator.
I wanna see the light.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for letting us share part of your day. My name is Jerry Mitchell. Sitting next to me, dancing to the beat of the music, is Myra.
Hi, everyone.
She's here on Thursday night. Excuse me. Got a lot to look at tonight. There's something I wasn't going to do, and my mind got changed earlier today. So we're going to do that before we get into a whole lot. Let me remind all the new folks, and we have more of them all the time, you can visit givegod90.com. Check us out there. If you are so inclined, you know, we're coming up on a season where people like to give things away to people they like, people they don't like, people they know, and people they don't know, right?
Right.
So, have I covered everything?
Yes.
Okay. Books are always a good gift. And, you know, hey, there's Carol listening already.
Hi,
Thanks,
Carol.
I can recommend a couple of books.
I'm sure you could.
You know, Tradition to Truth, One Man's Search for Honest Answers, and God's Universe, God's Rules. You know, if you give them away for gifts, the more you give them away, the better the better the people that get them are going to like you. Okay? Because it will make them ask questions, and they'll probably come to you for answers.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's one way to make friends and influence people. Yes, I'm joking, okay? But seriously, you can give the books away, but you buy the books, read one, get one to give away, or a case, you know, as the case may be. However you want to do that, it's fine. It's one of the ways that we help keep what we do paid for.
Exactly.
So, the other thing, when you hear the podcast, depending on what platform you listen to it on, because we're out there on a lot of them. Thanks to Spreaker, they put it out everywhere, I think. So we're here and doing our thing, and you're listening to it. Depending on where you're listening to it, you hit the like buttons, you hit the share buttons. We really appreciate that too. And if you get a chance, and you really like what you hear, take a moment and give us that 5-star, 10-star, 15-star rating, whatever it is. And that helps boost us up and gets us noticed a little bit more. Something I wasn't going to mention, but I can't help myself. I've got to go here. You know, I want to believe if you're listening to this show, like Carol, you probably believe what it says in the Bible, right? Or at the very least, you're curious about what it says in the Bible. And there's something going on that has potential to affect every person who eats all over the world. And that affects just about everybody, right?
Yes.
Okay. There's an article that I read yesterday in Israel 365 News. Apparently at the COP26, Bill Gates had a sit-down conversation with the Prime Minister from Israel, Naftali Bennett. And let me read part of the article, because this, you may not realize what it says. I quote, Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett met with Bill Gates during the COP26 Climate Change Conference in Glasgow, Scotland. The two agreed to establish cooperation between the Jewish state and the Gates Foundation in the climate change innovation space. Israel is known as a startup nation, and I think that it's time we pivot and channel our national energy, which is the energy of the people, the brain power, to fighting climate change, Bennett told Gates, adding, "We're going to take this as a national mission." Bennett suggested that Israel's high-tech entrepreneurs can pivot from the cloud space to climate change innovation. But that didn't seem to be enough for Gates, who said that he'd like to see Israel become involved in adaptation, including seed and livestock work. End quote. This is a clue. This is a clue. What it means is that Gates is attempting to pressure Israel to violate, let me say this again so you understand this. Gates is going to pressure Israel to violate Scripture, specifically Leviticus 19:19, which says, "If you keep my statutes, you will keep my statutes. You will not crossbreed two different kinds of livestock. You will not sow your fields with two kinds of seed, and you shall not wear clothing made of two kinds of material." Now, a lot of times people get hung up on the fabrics. You know, what's the big deal about wearing poly-cotton blends, right? Well, you need spandex and polyester to make those leggings that everybody's wearing. Okay, skip over that part for now. You know, even though, you know what, we're going here. Don't skip over that part for now. Do you realize that clothes today, when they manufacture clothes today, they are designed to only be laundered between 10 and 20 times. They wear out in the wash. In fact, the more you wash them, the faster they wear out. The manufacturers that make washing machines used to get a lot of blame for washing your clothes away. And, you know, they redesigned a lot of washers. They took the lint filters out of washing machines. You know, washing machines years ago had lint filters in them. They took those out. And the appliance manufacturers actually made a lot of work to make sure that the washing machines are very gentle on your fabrics, because clothes are designed to only be laundered between 10 and 20 times, right? But it's actually the dryers that's the big problem, because the dryer tumbles your clothes over and over and over and over again, and you've got to have a lint filter in your dryer or you're going to catch your house on fire. It's that simple. They are the one of the leading causes of house fires in the United States. I don't know about other countries. They may have some other regulations, but I bet they're way up on the list. It's amazing that we there's homeowners associations, groups of there's neighborhoods, basically, if you're in another country. And the neighborhoods have gotten together and said, oh, nobody can hang their clothes out. Now, everybody is driving an electric vehicle, right? They're doing their best to save the environment, save energy, but you can't hang your clothes out and let the sun dry your clothes, even though you got the ugly solar panels on top of your house. Yeah, I went down that road. Now, let's look at something else, because here's the problem that Gates wants with livestock and plants. Our Creator does not want hybrid animals for consumption, or He doesn't want hybrid plants for consumption. If you know anything about hybrids, you know that some hybrids are terminal. They can't reproduce, right? Mules are sterile. Cross between a burro and a horse, they can't reproduce. They're sterile. There are certain plants that can't reproduce. They'll come back up, but they won't have any fruit. Okay? You know, you'll have a beautiful corn plant, but you won't get any near corn. Right? Have you ever heard the term, you are what you eat? I want you to think about this. If you eat a genetically modified organism, even if it's a hybrid. You're introducing something into your body that's not designed by our Creator to be there. What does that genetic makeup do as it goes through your digestive system? How does your digestive system break down those proteins to do? You're shaking your head because you know all about digestive system problems, right?
Yes.
They don't stop there.
No.
They don't stop there. People around the world have been eating hybrid plants for a long time. And the result, look around. How many people do you know that either have severe digestive problems or other health issues related to what they eat? Because, what you are, or you are what you eat. Your entire health system begins with the fuel that you put in your body. Why is this a problem? Monsanto owns the majority of genetically modified seeds in the world. Now, what most people don't know is when you purchase seeds from Monsanto, you agree through your purchase that Monsanto owns the byproduct. The farmer gets paid when he takes a seed to market, but he's not getting paid to sell the seed. He's getting paid by the measure, by usually in the United States by the bushel, for growing the seed for Monsanto. That's how it works. Israel is not the only nation, Israel is the only nation who has an agricultural industry that is overseen by two authorities. They're overseen by the government, a civil authority, and they're overseen by the rabbinic authority, a religious authority. The rabbinic rules in Israel currently should prevent genetically modified plants being grown. Not sure they do, but they should. The changes, or the change in the practices of the Gates Foundation, who together with some, let's just say, notorious world finance groups. Maybe you've heard, most people probably haven't heard of Vanguard, but they are one of the largest investment corporations in the world. They own a lot. They have investments in Coke and Pepsi, Monsanto, you name it, and they're probably in it. Berkshire Hathaway is another, and State Street is another. These companies put their money into these places, and they basically are some of the largest stockholders, which means the companies are then forced by the stockholders to do what they are told to do. That's the way it works in a corporation. You own the largest share, well, you get to tell us what to do the loudest, right?
Right.
See, these people will pressure Naftali Bennett to change the agricultural practices in Israel. And what does this mean? If Gates and the others have their way, you're going to be subject to their desire. You've got to eat, right? That's as simple as it is. You have to eat. And they're already telling you to eat less meat, less protein, less iron. Why is that? They want to weaken you. They want to weaken your immune systems so that you can take more of their drugs. They want to weaken you physically so you can't fight back. It's really easy to control a weak person. It's very difficult to control a strong person. It's very difficult to control a strong-willed person. But it's really easy to control somebody who's hungry. So how do you stop? What do you do to prevent this from happening? Here's what you can do as an individual. If you have room, if you have a sunny place in your house, whatever it happens to be, you can actually purchase and grow openly pollinated seeds. heirloom seeds, seeds that will reproduce year after year, the ones that the Creator designed at creation. Don't purchase GMO products of any kind. That's hard to do. You have to read the label. Some things are actually advertised now, and you look at the front of the package and it says contains no GMOs, right? Those are the easy ones, but you have to look. You've got to be willing to do this stuff. The other thing you can do is actually do what the Bible tells you to do. Don't eat the hybrid products. Don't eat the terminal products. Now, it is very, very difficult to do this because the genetically modified stuff has such a foothold in the supply chain. Just read the label. You are what you eat. If you eat sterile food, what's the possibilities there? If all you do is drink water, you're going to be well hydrated, but you're going to starve to death because water by itself holds no nutrients, right? So think about what you're getting into. We live in a world today that really is technologically advanced. We have the capability of doing a lot of things, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we should be doing these things. There is a reason that way back when Moses was writing Leviticus, he said, don't crossbreed your animals, right? And he said, don't, what? He wasn't like a super agriculture genius. He was just doing what the Almighty told him to write down, right? That's all he was doing. He was writing down the instructions that he received. The Almighty knew that these things were going to be possible, and he said, don't do it. And that kind of leads me into where I really wanted to go tonight. And it still deals with some technology, right? In a way. We live in a world where we can program a destination into a GPS, and it should get us where we want to go, right? We have the satellites doing their orbit thing, low orbit satellites, and they beam down their little microwaves to the GPS, either in your phone or in your car, and it will direct you where you program it to go. But not long ago, we didn't have that technology. Not long ago, we needed a map and a compass. Years ago, when I first started taking people into the mountains and making sure that they returned safely out of the mountains, all I had was a map and a compass. That's when I started going out into the hills. Now, a lot of times I would trust the landmarks that I had around. I could see the top of the next hill or know what valley I was in, and I really didn't follow a map and a compass that closely. You need to know how to navigate to get to where you want to be. Because even though I didn't always use a compass and a map, guess what I always carried with me? Because you never know what might happen and you need to go a different way to get back to where you started. So you carry this stuff with you just in case. We know people who sail out on the ocean where there aren't any landmarks. Now, before GPS, before global positioning, or other electronic systems like LORAN and the others, all they had was a compass and a sextant, tools that used magnetic poles of the earth or the placement of the stars in the sky. A compass always points to magnetic north. And a map, you need a map that was made with a key, so you know the difference between true north and magnetic north. It's called declination. Because if you don't know how far off magnetic north is from true north on the map you're using, you could wind up someplace other than where you wanted to go, right? I mean, if you start off just a little bit and you go long enough, it's going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot of space between where you wanted to go and where you should have been. When you tried to orientate a map with the landmarks, if you didn't know that declination, it didn't work. Things just didn't line up right. Here's something interesting. Did you know that designed in every person that's born is a kind of a compass? It doesn't point north, okay? And it isn't a moral compass either, because left to our own ways, we're going to destroy ourselves. It's just that simple. Face it, on our own, we're selfish. We want what we want, right? Yet, let's go back to Genesis for a second. Do you really think if Eve didn't wonder what that fruit tasted like? Well, it might be pretty good. And the serpent's there, well, did God really say? Well, we can discuss this a little bit, if that's the way the conversation could have gone. But think about it. Left to our own devices, left on our own, we will destroy ourselves. Now, the compass that you are the compass you were born with doesn't magically make us moral or loving. It doesn't point us to some mythical knowledge of a utopia or give us some inbred knowledge on how to live in a civilized society. Our compass does something different. Our compass points us in the direction of our Creator. You know that children born into a home where the parents are atheists can, and many actually do, become believers. Isn't that amazing? How's that happen? Children born to a society that would typically reject the Creator can and do become believers. Why? How's that happen? How's it happen unless there's something that they already have in them that is pointing to accepting when they hear or see something that pertains to the Almighty that made them? Some Christians call this spirit, but there's a lot more to it than that. They're kind of on the right track, though, because breath is spirit. And God breathed into Adam the breath of life at creation. The spirit of our Creator being breathed into Adam. See, our spirit, if I can say it this way, our spirit with a small s at the beginning has a desire to connect with the spirit of our Creator. Now, that spirit of the Creator, or Holy Spirit, if you want to call it that, think of that as the big S. Even the cannibalistic tribes around the world who've never heard of the Creator of the universe, even they have a basic understanding that, if you treat the people closest to you the way you want to be treated, things would be a whole lot better than if you try to just go around offending everybody. The cannibals eat their enemies, not their neighbors. Now, if you do your studying, okay, you're going to find some tribes in South America that actually eat the relatives after they die of a natural cause. The belief is that they can absorb their spirit and gain all of their knowledge. Yeah, that is kind of sick, but Myra's sitting here making faces at that. But, think about it. They don't know any better, right? But they know how to treat the people they get along with. They know how to defeat their enemies. It's okay to eat them, so, Hey, you know what, Uncle Frank? Just you know, just saying that that's the way some cultures that don't know any better do things. You see, they don't know any better because they don't have a map. They have the compass that says we know we have to connect to something, but they don't have a map. Do you know what that map? Any ideas what that map might be? Well, some of us might call it a Bible. The actual sacred word of our Creator, right? You see, when we use our compass that points to the Creator, and we come into contact with His sacred word, something kind of supernatural does happen. You remember Sid Roth? It's supernatural, right? And he'd get all exaggerated with his movements. You know, he was really highly animated when he spread his arms out. I used to kind of get a kick out of him. But when that happens, people begin to believe in the God of Abraham, who actually did speak and create. When we accept that, and we, our compass is pointed there, the Spirit connects, and now we have His instructions in our hand, and we start to read His instructions. That's the map for how we live in this life. It gets us where we're going. It makes sure that we can get along with other people, not just our, the friends closest to us, but the ones we might not think much of as well, right? Because we need to understand we can trust the words that He gives to us. The words that the Almighty spoke to the writers of the Bible. Now, there's other words there too that were added on. I know, but we're not going to worry about them right now. That's for another time. But the words that the Almighty gave to the people who wrote the Bible, we can trust those. We know what they say. And Myra's been sitting here kind of quiet the whole time. She gets a chance to read now. Psalm 119, 1 through 8.
Happy are the people who live pure lives. They follow the Lord's teachings. Happy are the people who keep His rules. They ask Him for help with their whole heart. They don't do what is wrong. They follow His ways. Lord, You gave Your orders to be followed completely. I wish I were more loyal in meeting Your demands. Then I would not be ashamed when I think of Your commands. When I learned that Your laws are fair, I praised You with an honest heart. I will meet Your demands, so please don't ever leave me.
And that, of course, comes from the International Children's Bible. Does it get much simpler than that? And it's actually pretty close to what it actually says. Happy are the people who live pure lives, because they follow His instructions. They follow His teachings. When you feel unhappy, or you're sick, or you're depressed, or you're otherwise just miserable, maybe you should try to find out if you're actually going the way your compass and map are taking you, or are you trying to take a shortcut? Think about that. When sometimes you get sick, right? And you don't know why. Who are you supposed to go see that you haven't been going to see? Who needs to hear what you have to tell them? That what message haven't you been delivering? You need the map. Make sure that you check your declination. Make sure your map and your compass are oriented exactly right. And if you need help with that, give God none. He can help with that. Making those small changes every day that will guide you back. Put everything, you orient your map and your compass in the right direction so that you can go back to being happy, living a pure life, and all the other things David describes. That way, you're living the way your Creator designed you to live. You're not doing the things that are bad for you. On our own, we don't achieve happiness. It's impossible. Because on our own, we don't know His instructions. On our own, we fail. But when we follow our compass and, let those spirits connect, that's when we can succeed. When we understand everything we need to have a long, happy, successful, productive, healthy life comes from our Creator and not from ourselves. It's exactly what those who recognize for the first time that their spirit is trying to connect to His spirit, they understand, they get it. Some people never have that aha moment, that eureka moment, however you want to describe it, because they have been brought up with, you've got to trust God all your life. From the time they were a baby, that's all they knew. They didn't know what it was like not to look for the Creator. So for them, it's kind of hard to understand that the first time your spirits connect, there is that supernatural moment. Because for a lot of people, that happened at such a young age, they don't remember it. People who choose their Creator and crush whatever idol or whatever God with a little g they were following, that really is what we're after. Convincing you that let me say this again, convincing you that the only thing you need is your Creator. Everything else falls into place. When you're realizing that everything you need will come from Him, that that is a moment that a lot of people, I've seen people have those moments when they really get it. And it's kind of neat to watch. But at the same time, if you're like me and you just kind of, it was just expected that, you would accept Him. You probably had that same thing too, right? It was just expected of you to, you're going down this path whether you want to or not, right?
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah. So, you get a little bit jealous of the people who have that moment, and you see that look in their eyes when everything just kind of comes together and they have this eureka moment, this aha moment, this is what it's all about moment. But you know what? You can be reminded of that every day too. If you're willing to follow the instructions, if you're willing to live the way you're designed to live. So the big question is, does your lifestyle match that? Does your lifestyle resemble following those instructions? Here's another way to ask this question. Does your lifestyle lead others to want to connect their spirit to the Spirit of the Almighty? Those are the things we need to think about. Those are the things we need to be aware of. Because when we start looking at His instructions, I get, not every day, but a lot of days, people will ask, how do we know we're going the right direction? How do we know we're doing the right thing? Well, does it match what the Almighty said? Are you in any way in conflict with His instructions? If you're in conflict, you need to do something different. But if you're just kind of, does this really match? The only way to really know that is to be familiar enough with the instructions so that you can look at what you're doing and you can look at His instructions, look at the examples we have in Scripture, and make the proper adjustments. Give God 90 helps with that, because after 90 days, you should be in a position where you can make those independent choices. And you can go, oh yeah, I need to be doing this, or I need to be doing that. Just because, if you happen to be single and you look at somebody who's married living a certain way, it doesn't mean that that's the way you have to do things, because married couples are going to do things differently than single couples are. Married couples with children are going to do things differently than married couples with no children. Older couples whose children have grown and gone, maybe they have grandchildren now, are going to do things differently than their children with children, right? So you need to be able to make those independent decisions and yet still maintain that biblical authority over your life. And all of those things come together. That's why when we look at news articles like Bill Gates meets Prime Minister Bennett, we can look for those words and we can say this is going to have a bad outcome if Bill Gates gets his way. Not just for Israel, but worldwide. Those are the things that and that's the big reason why we need to be aware of what's going on. Because there's so much going on in the world right now. Let's face it, there is a lot of deceit in the world. And you've got to be able to know the difference between what the Creator will approve of, what He will condone, and what He will consider an abomination that will, well, let's just say it this way. You stand a chance of not winding up in the place that you programmed your GPS for. Is that a good way to say that? Okay. Don't forget, if you really like what you're hearing, those likes and shares, we appreciate them. Did you have anything you wanted to add?
It's been a true honor to have everyone listen to us tonight.
Absolutely. We appreciate each and every one of you. Until Monday, where I will be remotely supervised.
Yes, I will be listening.
Many blessings, everyone.